Kent County is my hometown. I'm 53 years old, and other than living in Nantucket for about a year, I've been here my entire life. I love Rock Hall, love growing up in Rock Hall. Spent the last 20 years living in Greg Neck in Galena. My wife taught Girl Scouts in Millington for like 5 or 6 years, so I feel really connected to that end of the county also. I chose to make Kent County my home is because I'm an avid boater. I love boating, and I'm not really a fisherman, but I like to boat. You always see them. I'm always out somewhere in a boat on weekends somewhere. Being on a boat's like being on a mini vacation. Doesn't matter where you are. As soon as you step on that boat, I'm on vacation. So that's why I chose to live here. My mom brought me up to basically be self-employed. Even when I was trot lining and when I was in 5th grade, she made me keep all my records, and she was like grooming me. So by the time I was about 30 to 40-ish, somewhere in there, so I'm 53, so I was trying to figure out how to be self-employed and what I wanted to do. You just can't, it's hard to pick a business because you got to pick something you're passionate in and something you like. So I was a design engineer and draftsman for years and years, and then I went and started my own business in my garage. The county was very good with cottage industry permits. I think cottage industry in Kent County is very strong, and it's great. They do a very good job with that. So I went from 2 machines in my garage to Mary Morse Road 15 years later, which I have 20, I think I have like 26 or 27 employees now. We run 3 shifts around the clock. We're running Saturdays and Sundays. The economy is booming right now, so we're slammed.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought the year I decided to run for commissioner would be my busiest year? So. I was on the economic board I've been on there for 5 years. I think I have about 1 year left. And we talked a lot about plans and long-term plans, and we did 5-year plan on the direction of the county. And I would get frustrated because we were an advisory board only, and we would make a lot of it. We would talk to a lot of different people. We made a lot of it, we would recommend things, but I never really felt like anybody was really listening to us. I love Kent County, and I like the way we are, and I really don't want to change the county, but I think we're missing out on opportunities by not changing a small bit, like plan change. Like, I don't want to go out and just totally disrupt the way we are, because this is why I live here. One of our plan is we do need to add some revenue to our county. I think we probably need to add about $3 million to our revenue. Not that I want to make this about numbers, but in a couple of years, our inflation rates and all have gone up, that our revenue's not going to keep up with it. And our revenue has really been flat for the past 4 years. I haven't really checked prior to the last 4 years, which it could have been flat probably up to about the housing boom or the housing crisis. I would probably say we did very well with revenues up to that point. But like I said, I've only checked it back the last 4 years, and we have flat revenue. If you had 1,000 families all paid about $3,000 in property tax, along with some income tax, you'd have your $3 million. But 1,000 families, our population really hasn't changed drastically in quite a while, and we're at 19,000 for years and years. I think we briefly went into 20. I think we're back into the 19,000. The change I'm talking about would be over like a 5 to 7 year plan. I don't think you can change it that dramatically that fast, and I don't think anybody here wants to see that.
Right.
But we do need to correct the revenue, and we still need to get some revenue.
So how does that work?
A lot of this has to do with what comes first, the chicken or the egg. And I can sit here and think myself in circles in that regard. But my thought was always education, because people live where they go to school, but they tend to commute to work. So I don't really think we have a job problem. I mean, you can always have more jobs, and I can sit here and say we need more jobs, but we do pretty good with jobs. Can we always use more? Sure. Can we always use more higher paying? Sure. But I think we need to get people to live here. About 90 to 91% of our revenue comes from income tax and property tax. And of that, I think about 60-some% comes from property tax, and the other 30% revenue. Well, the revenue, the property tax has slightly increased over the last 4 or 5 years, but our revenue from income tax has gone down, which is what has made us flat. The current school board budget by 2021, under their current projections, is going to be like minus 2.4 million. And I was at a commissioners meeting where Pat gave us a little look into the future, and she kind of sees the negative. And I don't know if that was including the school board or not, or just the county. But I think we can really nip this in the bud. We just have to start moving up a little bit. You know, we just have to progress and address these issues. Do I have the answers by myself? No, but I think, you know, if you pick and choose the right people to get together, we have some really smart people in this county to solve these. Kent County High School, I'm very pleased with it. I'm very happy with Kent County High School. I'm very happy with the elementary schools, with the pre-K and all that. I think we've really gone in the right direction with that. The middle schools, I mean, I haven't been through the middle school yet. I'm trying to get scheduled to go through, but you know, we have a few problems in there. I know that Karen Couch was asking for a social worker and a guidance counselor. I think when she didn't get funded, she manipulated her numbers around. She actually did add a guidance counselor. We have, you know, we have kids that, some kids, for whatever reason, with their upbringing and all, they're disciplinary problems in school. And I think that they're not getting it at home, and we just have to address that. There's nothing we can do about it. I mean, everybody's dealt different cards in their lives, and we just have to do the best we can. One thing that I don't understand is the school budget is 37% of our overall budget, the money that we give to the school. And we don't start talking about it until like a month or so before. Why, if it's 37%, then why don't we start talking about it in January? Why don't we start talking about several and start having these conversations? The school pretty much knows. I was told already that they're looking at losing 38 students this year. Well, they already know that. So the budgeting process probably should start now instead of the last minute. I mean, everybody was on pins and needles. Was it May, I guess, when they do the budget, May or June? Everybody was on pins and needles. Are they going to fund us? Are they going to give us money? They're not going to do it. You know, and I think Karen Couch had already looked at giving teachers raises. And then they turned around and not funded it, and then they had to go around and do the shuffle all over again. Well, I think that's a lot of wasted effort that you could actually start the process a lot sooner, because, you know, I would rather Karen Couch be spending more time learning about how to educate our kids and getting our teachers to teach better, and looking at what difficulties we have coming down the road, rather than spending 2 straight months of budgeting and then not knowing at the end what you're going to get, and then have to spend all the time. I mean, that's her job, but I'd rather her spend more time on learning than I would worrying about the budget.
You know,
about 20 years ago, maybe 25 years ago, Kent County pretty much, I don't know who actually ran for county commissioner, but the people of the county pretty much voted, we don't want to grow, we want to stay the way we are, we want to stay beautiful, and that was what the people of Kent County wanted, and our commissioners have done a very good job doing that. I just think now it's 2018, and we've gotten to the point where we realize that the cost of staying the way we are is going to start mounting, and it hasn't mounted until probably the last couple of years. But with inflation and the way things go, that's what we're seeing. We have different types of businesses in the county. We have the Lamonts, we have the Dixon Valves, and a lot of these companies are more global. You know, and they're doing very well right now because the global economy is doing pretty well. And even my company, I do very little work. I probably do like 0.1% within Kent County. So I'm doing work outside the county, outside the state. Some of my stuff even eventually goes outside the country, and I'm doing pretty well. But then you have the local economy. That's actually money that stays here and is all within the county. And I know that the downtown group, they have the downtown initiative. They're always looking at ways to improve downtown. You have a few empty stores at the plazas, and I just think if we were to move forward a little more and be smart about it, we could fill in some of these holes. One of the things. One of the issues is, and I didn't know this, and I'll give Billy Short credit for this because he was explaining it to me. Anytime two commissioners get together, it's a quorum or whatever you want to call it, and you can get fined for not having public meetings. So I don't understand how things get done a lot of times, because if I can't get together and talk to somebody about a problem, then how are you ever going to solve it? And you can't sit up in front of the commissioners' meetings and have an open discussion on everything that you come across to get ideas, because you'd be up there for weeks, talking about all the issues. So that's when I had a conversation with another gentleman, I won't say who it was, but they talk about a county executive, where they're actually the CEO, and they actually run, and then they answer to the commissioners like a board, but that person is given the authority to actually make the decisions, get the groups together, have the discussions, and roll with it. I didn't do any research into the hospital until I decided to run for commissioner. And I've been talking to Dr. Benjamin a lot. I've sat in a few commissioner meetings when they've given reports on the status of the hospital. And, you can say all the talk you want about the hospital, but it's going in the direction of a glorified emergency room. So I asked Dr. Benjamin, I was like, what do you think about the hospital? I mean, and he says, well, honestly, we're not getting any answers. We're not hiring back doctors. My daughter works up there, my stepdaughter, and she's always getting sent home because they don't have patients. And the rumors are patients are being sent other places, even though insurance companies don't really want to pay for patients anymore. He says, unless we actually owned it, we wouldn't have any control over it. And I was like, why don't we, I said buy it back at first, but I think we should inherit it back, because I don't think we sold it for anything. I've talked to a lot of people about it. I don't know if UMM is who we want to own it in the long run and who we want to keep it. Some people say we'd be better off going with Annapolis, Anne Arundel. Other people say that there might be a hospital in Middletown in the future as our population grows. I think that's Christiana that has that. Maybe we'd be better off going with them. But I think that staying and banging our heads up against the wall with UMM is ridiculous, and we really should think of a different alternative. The hospital is in the opportunity zone. So the opportunity zone is where you can invest money into downtown businesses. There's a whole criteria of what you can invest in, and the hospital would be under there. So we could inherit the hospital back and get it back up and running through the opportunity zone money, but you have to have all the proper pieces in place. You'd have to have a CFO or a CEO that really knew the ropes and knew what they were doing. You'd have to reinvent your staff. You're finding recruitment. Right now, our beds are only supposed to be there for another 2 years guaranteed. Well, how hard is it going to be to recruit a doctor and say, hey, we want you to come to Kent and Queen Anne's and be a doctor here, but we're not sure, you might have to go find another job in 2 years. Well, it's not a good scenario. So I've always been the type of person that we should try to be a little more aggressive in our control and not sit back and just react, that we should do some reacting ourselves and make them react to us a little bit.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, but that's not an easy case scenario, and that's a lot to take on. And then on top of that, you probably have about a 2-inch book of regulations from the state and federal government that you'd have to have somebody know those before they could step in to take this over. It's a huge undertaking, but I just think something needs to be done.